Hello and welcome, everyone. It is time to enter the Kumite. This is not a sport. I repeat, this is not a sport.
And this is not a podcast.
I'm your host, James King, and I'm joined today by my friend and fellow colleague, Daniel Caballero.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And our technical engineer, the 940 Ninja himself, Sean Myers.
Yes.
Today, we'll be discussing UFC 260, Miocic versus Ngannou.
Great fights all around. So many great cards on this.
Yeah. If you guys enjoy the content we're creating, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and don't be afraid to hit that little bell icon either so you can stay up to date with the latest Kumite gossip.
And I would like to just point out that we have an all-natural Simpsons writer right here because this man called this fight perfectly.
I'm telling you, my prediction's been on point lately.
On point, man.
You guys should start putting money in what I say. I'm just putting that out there.
Let's not make them lose any money before we
winning money.
We're gonna confirm this a few more times. Let's see how many you can get right in a row. How about that?
Right. Yeah, I've been on point lately.
But before that, let's talk about these prelims, man. There was a lot of good cards, good fights on the prelims.
People were showing up for finishes tonight.
Yes, they were.
Starting off, because we just picked a few of our favorites in prelims. There's so many to talk about. We just don't have the time to talk about all of them and give them, the proper credit and admiration.
Eventually, we're going to do more specific breakdowns over one specific fight that might take this entire conversation. Those are where the really details are going to be in it. But we're starting. We're getting there. Just, tell us that you like what we're doing, and we're going to give y'all more content.
Exactly. So, starting off, we're going to be talking about Alt versus Isatar. Now, this was a fantastic fight. Isatar comes from K1, old school kickboxer, fantastic striking, and he's actually really strong in the clinch too. But Alt won this by a third-round stoppage.
He had that cardio and that toughness to just stay alive, and
that's exactly
I think that did it well.
Yeah, because he took some serious damage, but he took it on the chin and he kept moving forward because his game plan was high pressure, high volume, mix in with the grappling to wear Isatar down. And Isatar was looking pretty fresh in the second round, but you could see in round 3 that he was done. He was done. He was gassed out. His legs were wobbly. His body was slow and labored.
That only accounts for his, great training camp. I'm sure Alt had a massively just rework to his training camp to give him that cardio, to give him that endurance, just to finish the fight. Props to his team.
Yeah, no, he's a hot Canadian prospect, and I can't wait to see how he matches up with some of the stronger dudes in the division. Exactly. Isatar's an elite level striker, but his cardio and his grappling, that was his limiting factor in this fight here. I felt like Isatar honestly was tough enough to really live the fight.
He just needed the gas tank.
I feel like the ref didn't need to stop it because there's only 4 seconds left, and Isatar was tough enough to stay in there. And I feel like he took away that decision loss.
Do you not think that he was just receiving too much damage? Is that why the ref stopped it?
He did take a lot of damage, but he wasn't out of that fight. He wasn't unconscious, and he was still trying to fight positions. But Alt did get a full mount,
which is only
to start raining down some damage.
It only just tells you how difficult these jobs are for these refs. You have to make that split-second decision to decide whether I need to protect this fighter or I need to let this fight go on and protect, his legacy of if he's going to win. That, again, 4 seconds, that makes an entire difference.
I guess, but Isatar was
decision in TKO.
Isatar was still conscious. That's what gets me.
Exactly.
That's what gets me.
And
he wasn't unconscious. He earned his way to the end of that fight.
Yes, and you can't blame.
And he could have won that decision.
You can't completely blame the refs because you don't want that to be the line. As soon as they're unconscious, if they're taking too much damage, you gotta protect the fight.
He was 4 seconds away from what I scored to be a draw, because I scored Isatar winning the first 2 rounds and Alt winning a 10-8 in the third.
Well, things can be different. If they were different, they'd be different,
I mean, it's okay. It's okay. The ref did give him, a lot of chances to really survive, but I just felt like he gave him all those chances to survive and then cut it off with 4 seconds left in the fight.
Again, a difficult job, but I'm happy for the refs that we have to do this. They're great guys. So moving on to the next fight on this prelim card, I was so confused when I saw this name. I didn't initially read the first. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, cousin to Khabib. Can't believe I was thinking that, he came back from retirement and decided to just go all the way back from the bottom. But now we have a new Khabib that's making his way up. Tell me about this fight.
A new Khabib. but with better striking. At least better offensive striking. Khabib is really Khabib has a great jab, great head movement, and for his short arms, he's got great range management. But Abu Bakr showed that he's got feints. He's got a lot of diverse ways to get inside the pocket of a longer, faster fighter. Because Jared Gooden was definitely the faster, longer fighter in this. I felt like Gooden has some really big fundamental defensive flaws. He likes to jab from the hip, which is really good because it's harder to see a jab coming from the hip and it's harder to block that.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you have to bring your hands up when you're in the pocket. He would leave his lead hand down the entire fight, and he was getting caught for it. He was getting punished. And Abu Bakr, when I say he's a good striker, he's also mixing in those head kicks off of his 1-2 head kick, following through, and he caught him with a couple of those. Gooden is tough as nails, dude. He took some big shots, but I gotta say, Gooden has fantastic head movement.
Yeah,
fantastic. But he leans on that a little bit. I think if he would block with his footwork and head movement, he would be a serious threat to anybody in that division.
It also just says they're feeding these Dagestanis something special up there, man.
Cut from a different cloth.
They're bringing so much talent to the UFC, and I'm excited to see just what do they have an official team? The Dagestanis.
Yeah, Eagle MMA.
Eagle MMA. That's what it is.
Khabib is actually the
he's
head coach
coaching
of that
now that his
he took
father.
Abdulmanap's
I
place,
knew that they
filled his
did. I just
shoes.
couldn't remember the name of it. And
Right.
I would love to see that team just shoot out more talent. I'm so interested to see each one of them.
And all the lighter weight classes, they are.
Yes, that would be great. Imagine a Dagestani heavyweight.
There's a light heavyweight.
There is a Dagestani
I believe,
heavyweight?
yeah. Magomed Ankalaev.
Okay.
I believe he trains with Eagle MMA.
Tell them to buff up a little bit. I want to see what they can do in the heavyweight division. There's stuff to talk about, but let's get to that fight later.
Right. One thing I want to point out is Nurmagomedov's stance switch against the cage to open up his power head kick. He's got that kind of striking where he can stance switch, and now you got a whole new toolbox of things to worry about.
Anybody that can fight ambidextrous like that on both feet is just a force to be reckoned with.
You think you get their vibe, you think you get their flow, and then boom, they change everything up.
It's something completely different.
And now that power head kick is right there because Gooden keeps his lead hand so low, it's a constant threat.
Exactly.
And when he would get Gooden to back up against the cage, he would stance switch and throw to the outside because his lead hand is always down. He took some big shots. Gooden is good as tough as nails. What else do I have to say about this? I feel like all Dagestanians have to show off that they can wrestle. Because I feel like Nurmagomedov could have won that fight just on the feet.
Yeah.
I feel like he definitely could have gotten the knockout. But he just had to show, like, we're Dagestanians. Like, we can wrestle. We can out-wrestle you.
They can do it all.
And you think my striking's good? Well, here's my wrestling, too. Something always to worry about. Dagestani handcuff, powerful control. It's amazing to see. And Nurmagomedov trains at AKA, too.
Really?
Yeah, I love to see this Dagestani Eastern style mix with the Western style, AKA,
The beauty of MMA, mixed martial arts, is just being able to blend these styles together to make something new.
I feel like Rafael Cordero and Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov were like the perfect combo.
Yes.
Because Abdulmanap is one of the best grappling coaches. I mean, he's innovative with his grappling. And Cordero is, he's one of the best kickboxing coaches in the game. So it's really interesting to see them because AKA stands for American Kickboxing Academy. Yeah. So take that Dagestani wrestling and then bring that over and then start learning Western kickboxing. It's a dangerous combo.
It's going to be a majestic striker.
But ultimately, Nurmagomedov won by a decision. Fantastic fight. Moving on, we're going into Charant versus Minifield.
Charant and Minifield.
I've been keeping my eye on Alonzo Minifield since he knocked out Paul Craig. Bear Jew Craig. I knew. It's funny because Paul Craig literally said after he fought Minifield and got knocked out, he's like, I just want my next opponent to have a neck. Because Minifield's traps just go from his ears to the tips of his shoulders. He has no neck. He's so powerful, and you can see it. And, Minifield, is usually a little bit more patient and more of a striker, but in this fight, I guess the game plan was really to grapple quickly, grapple aggressively, use your power,
Yes.
take him down. And that's exactly what happened. He came in with aggressive double leg. He pushed him up against the cage, and he got the seatbelt grip, or he got the gable grip, around the back of the legs, and just lifted him and slammed him. And then he finished him off with a Von Flue choke because Charant tried to go for a guillotine. And for whatever reason, Charant didn't let it go. And Minifield's actually the 1 out of 4 Von Flue chokes that's ever happened in the UFC. There's only been 2 people. OSP was the other 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to some of these jiu-jitsu techniques are just hidden to the people who are just casual fans of UFC.
Right.
They don't know all the different things that can happen on the ground, They're going to come at you from all kinds of different ways, which only shows that they have
Yeah, I hate
That's
the
why I love
expression,
jiu-jitsu.
like, oh, they're just laying on
You
each
can
other, they're
hide
hugging.
your entire toolbox from people, and then just right when you need it, pull out that right one.
Yeah, but that was really good to see from Minifield, because now we know he's not just a power puncher.
It's going to be interesting to see him get into the main card, but let's go ahead and let us get into that ourselves. Malarkey versus Worthy, probably that was the quickest fight of the night.
Yeah, it really was.
First round TKO, I believe 52 seconds in, if I'm not mistaken, 46 seconds in. I'm sorry.
I actually had Worthy winning this fight. Like I predicted him for the win, but I mean, hey, Jamie Malarkey, that was a beautiful setup.
It looked almost choreographed. I'm right now trying to choreograph something for a film I'm interested in doing, and that's something that I would see me putting in a film.
Right.
It was beautiful, just quick block followed by that lead hook. Oh, put Worthy away so quick.
I feel like Worthy would have been able to eat that shot. However, he wasn't in the correct position at the time. He was in the transition to get back to correct position to keep his chin
still moving forward from
above his knee.
From that wide hook that he sent to Malarkey, and just the quickness of Malarkey being able to respond with such a counter after that block was just nasty.
Because Worthy backed up and leaned away, and then he saw what was coming, so he tried to put himself back in the position to get his chin above his knee. He just didn't get it in time. And Malarkey was already there. And that's just a
quick
that
fight.
was a rough knockout.
Just out of the little I saw from Jamie, I'm interested to see what he can do against somebody else. Let's hope he can rise in those ranks in the lightweight division.
We'll see. He's had a bit of a rough time in UFC. He's got some really close decision losses. This was his first victory in the UFC. We didn't get to see too much tonight, but I did see a good setup for that finish.
Exactly.
And that's disregard the power, disregard the slip itself, but the setup for how he got to that position, and then making the feint to make Kama back up and lean away and put himself out of position.
Shows
that
a
was
very high fight IQ.
Very, very clever.
Going into a women's flyweight bout, Jillian Roberts versus Miranda Maverick. Is that Jillian or Gillian?
Jillian Roberts.
I said it right. All right, good. Yeah. I'm not that bad. Only fight to go to decision, if I'm not mistaken, in the entire card. Yes, I am not mistaken.
Yeah, I have this complex when it comes to the women's flyweight division, where I just try to see, imagine how someone matches up against Valentina Shevchenko, and man, she's just head and shoulders above everyone. But Miranda Maverick, she's 23. She's young. And she's 10-1 right now. I'm looking forward to seeing her growth, her development as a mixed martial artist. Because she's got really good striking, good footwork. She's really good at taking that perpendicular angle to line up those devastating shots. Robertson did a little bit better on the feet than I thought she would. She definitely survived. Now, once it got to the grappling, that's what I wanted to see. We know Maverick's a good striker, but she's a BJJ brown belt. I wanted to see how she would deal against an elite level grappler of the division, and Robertson is exactly that. She's not as effective when she's off of her back. She is crafty off her back, but she's not as much of a threat for a finish off of her back. But in the second round, Robertson was actually, winning the grappling exchanges. Maverick did a fantastic job at preventing Robertson from getting any hooks in. Because she was trying to get those hooks in. And Maverick did a really good job of keeping her legs up and dipping really low, like the old school wrestler style. And that, I think, is really what saved Maverick from being finished, because I feel that if Robertson got her back and had the hooks in, that Maverick would be in serious trouble.
Oh, yes.
For a rear naked choke. Robertson is very crafty with her hand fighting and setting up that rear naked choke. One thing that was weird, because I had Maverick winning round 1 and round 3. I felt like it was a pretty clear cut round 2 victory for Robertson.
However, some of the judges...
2 of the judges gave it a 30-27. I mean, Robertson even like mouthed it at the end, like 30-27. Like, no, it was a 29-28. I lost. But 30-27, what fight are you guys watching?
I think it was merely just a fact of the stand-up game. Miranda Maverick had a 60% striking percentage. Like, she was deadly accurate.
Yeah.
131 strikes total thrown versus the 32 of Roberts. I think it was just a dominant performance, which is why they had to give her that 30-27.
It was a fairly dominant performance. It's just that second round. Robertson was winning those grappling exchanges because Maverick was very crafty. She was setting up for all kinds of sweeps and reversals off of her back, using the leg as leverage. And man, she had so many moves that she used to try to get back on top or get up. Yeah. And Robertson was keen to all of it. She shut down every sweep attempt that Maverick was going for. Yeah.
Yes. Man,
can't wait to see Maverick.
Can't wait
to
see her back in. I hope she goes and gets a title fight. Do you think she could?
Well, Robertson was number 15 coming into this. She's definitely getting a top 15 opponent. She deserves that. There's not very much competition in the flyweight division as of right now. There's some people coming up from strawweight, some people coming down from bantamweight.
Yeah.
So it's, everybody's kind of filling in where they feel like they can cut weight at comfortably. But yeah, I say if she dominantly wins 2 more fights, I could totally see her fighting Valentina Shevchenko. And, I say around 24, 25.
What kind of potential do you think she has for at least taking Shevchenko out?
I think she's a little bit craftier in the grappling exchanges. I don't know if she's going to be able to close a distance to actually impose that grappling advantage on Valentina Shevchenko. And Shevchenko's no slack on the ground either.
Of course.
I mean, ever since she tapped out Julia Pena with an armbar, I knew she was legit on the ground.
Yes.
Like, she's not just a Muay Thai kickboxer anymore. Because Valentina Shevchenko's a 3-time world champion Muay Thai kickboxer.
And even though...
And now she's tapping out Juliana Pena, who wrestled and did jiu-jitsu her whole life.
Maverick, though, does have the skill set, though. She has the stand-up. She has the ground game.
She's a mixed martial artist.
She might be one that has that potential, but...
I got to see how she grows.
Let's wait and see.
As of right now,
exactly.
A lot of those pivots and things she was doing...
to get up.
Yeah, a lot of those little pivots and things she was doing that worked on Robertson and would work on a lot of women. I don't think that Shevchenko's going to give her the chance to set those up on herself.
Well, all hopes, all wishes that she does well and continues to grow in this division. But let's get to the next fight. One of my favorites. God, I'm loving that he came back ready to work. Sean Sugar O'Malley versus Thomas. His nickname is Tamahinas. Tamahinas Alameda.
Sugar Sean O'Malley. What can I say about this?
Great
he really
fight.
wanted that walk-off KO.
He really did.
There was 3 times he tried to go for the walk-off KO instead of actually finishing the fight right there.
It was sad, though. And again, we were talking earlier about how, you have to give it to these refs for being able to make those decisions. And that was one of them that was probably difficult to call. Alameda was out by the first strike. And while Malley wanted to just walk away from it, he had to hit him that one last time. And that is the thing that the refs don't want to happen. However, it happened here.
In the first round, Almeida went out for just a second. He fell down. And he crumbled. But he wasn't out of that fight yet.
No, of course.
But Sugar Sean wanted to do the
I'm talking
cool
about
guys
the final,
don't look at
the final
explosions
knockout in the third round.
The third
when he knocked him down, threw him to the ground. He walked up to him, and it was like, do I have to? Guess so.
Yeah, because Almeida wasn't preparing to defend that strike.
He wasn't. He was out. His hands were down. Exactly.
Split second.
I don't think it was split second. In that fight, he had time. He slowly walked up and was like, do I have to hit him?
Sugar Sean did not want to have to.
He didn't.
put excessive damage on Almeida. He definitely respected Almeida, and you have to respect Almeida. He's tough as nails.
You
but
have to.
This
And
is
because of the
4 in a row
performance that they put on.
This is 4 in a row that Almeida's lost. I don't know if he's going to stay in the UFC. And, he's a brawler. He's tough. He's crafty. But that chin's taking some damage. He's going to have to at least take a good chunk of time off after this.
It is. But at least great performance for Sean Sugar O'Malley. One thing I noticed from him is it's surprising to look and to watch a fight in the UFC and to find something that people are doing new. That you haven't seen before. We saw that in Conor McGregor's fight using the shoulder bump. Like, whoever saw that? Whoever thought, I'm going to hit you with my shoulder while we're up against the cage?
No one else can do it.
It's ridiculous. We're out to see.
Dustin Poirier tried.
Actually, I believe Vicente Luque did a little bit of it in the Tyron Woodley fight, but we'll get to that. With Sean O'Malley, though, he did something I've never seen before, faking a spinning a spinning side kick.
Because he does a lot of spinning techniques.
He does. And
he
whether
makes
it's a
you think
high
he's gonna
leg
do
kick,
it.
he loves the spinning side kick, going right for that liver shot. And
so
it was beautiful. He was faking it with his shoulders and
even turning
sometimes
his head.
even with his head. That just tells the fighter, okay, he's turning. That's the moment to crash in. I love faking like that. I have never seen, though, that spinning fake.
I have not seen a spinning fake.
A whole nother world of things you got to worry about.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
such a beautiful.
And, O'Malley will do spinning back kick to the body or the head. He caught him with 2 spinning heel kicks to the head.
Nasty
Oh,
shots.
and Almeida ate it. That was crazy to watch. So I could see when he did the feint, Almeida didn't know whether to block his body or his head because O'Malley's so fast. Those spins so fast, dude. Like a human Beyblade.
I was a little concerned at the end of the first round when Sean O'Malley went for that flying knee, took a couple strikes as he went down to the ground from coming out of it. Like,
that was ill-advised because Almeida isn't a wrestler and he wasn't trying to impose any wrestling on him. I think he was predicting Almeida to try to dip and throw a big punch
and catch him with
because Almeida was starting to get desperate, and he didn't have. I could tell he couldn't see too many opportunities to take advantage of on Sean O'Malley, so he was waiting to try to slip counter.
Yeah,
and I think O'Malley was predicting in that moment that he was about to try to slip counter and said like, "Oh, I'm not going to throw this. I'm going to throw this knee right down the middle and catch you," which that would have been a really clean walk-off KO.
Yeah.
But I mean, what can I say about O'Malley's footwork, man? His footwork and his diverse striking really prevented Almeida from closing the distance.
Oh, of course,
because he's so fast. Now, there's little quirks in his footwork that I think, and like I was worried about his ankle the whole time.
I was as well, and I think both fighters did a great job at piecing up the legs because while Sean O'Malley got some great leg kicks, took Alameda off of his base a few times, Alameda was doing the same thing to him. He was trying to keep him at his distance, and that's what narrowed O'Malley's base. However, he just couldn't do enough damage.
So one thing I saw that I don't think I've ever seen before either from O'Malley was he would take when he was getting ready for the leg kicks, he would take a Muay Thai stance and he would back up with that loose front leg while backing up to try to check that kick as he's backing up, which I don't think I've ever seen that before. I may have just like overlooked it, but that is I don't know how well that would work.
That would be more of a setup for like a defensive front kick, just to keep a distance while they're backing.
He does have really good teep kicks.
Exactly. That's what I could see him setting.
O'Malley was doing it while he was backing up. And I'm just like, that's interesting that you're trying to check this kick as you're backing up.
Well, O'Malley was doing the same thing. He was throwing those teep kicks right to the chest, and that actually it pushed back Almeida. It did a little bit of damage just to his midsection, and he was landing some of them clearly.
So in the fight with Chito Vera, O'Malley's first loss, his last fight, Chito hit him with a good low calf kick, and I think it kind of shut down that peroneal nerve and kind of shut off the feeling in his leg. And you can see with O'Malley's footwork that there are times where he does quirky things that could roll your ankle, and I think that's what ended up happening in his fight with Chito Vera. And I saw a couple times where his leg was kind of wobbly, like he kind of landed on it wrong again. So I was so concerned about that this entire fight because I want to watch O'Malley succeed. Of course. He's one of my favorites. Like he's got charisma, he has diverse striking, and he's pretty crafty off his back with the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was a fantastic fight. I can't wait to see. The only I could see Sean O'Malley fighting anyone in the bantamweight division. The only one I don't see him beating is Petr Yan.
Yeah, I definitely.
I don't know if I could see that.
I give him, so much props, so much respect for being able to come back from an injury like that. And I mean, I'm hoping that it doesn't have any long-term effects. It doesn't seem like it's having any effects on him after this fight.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to see where he can go from it. Do you
He
think
could also
that
just be compensating with his amazing striking, though.
Possibly. It seemed almost as though he wasn't as aggressive as I've seen him before. He played the counter game really well.
He was very aggressive, but it was very tactical aggression. He wasn't putting himself in harm's way almost ever. He was using very long strikes, and as soon as Almeida would come in, he would be ready to back out and get the counter. Yeah.
It's interesting to see all these fighters being able to instead of using brute force, just have the IQ to get around it. And
an interesting thing about O'Malley too is he doesn't just identify himself as a fighter. He's like, I want people to follow my social media and watch my life.
Yeah.
I'm not just a fighter. This is just a thing that I do. He's got other hustle, like side incomes and things like that. Like, I find that interesting that he's making that distinction of like, I'm not just a fighter. I want you to follow me for me. I'm an interesting person. Watch my YouTube videos and follow me on Instagram.
That's awesome. It's great to have more personality in this division.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you just see people go take some hits and then walk away.
Right. Okay.
But
co-main event. It wasn't initially the co-main event, but the Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega fight unfortunately was canceled. I wanted to see that fight so bad.
And similar to Alameda, this is now Tyron Woodley's fourth loss
in a row. 15 rounds in a row. Tyron Woodley has been dominated.
I mean, this was 15-3. Yep.
Yeah.
Fourth round.
Luque, first round submission, Darce choke. Don't let that mislead you. He rocked Woodley 3 times. Had Woodley doing the stanky leg.
He really did, though.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that description. That's great. But you can't completely take Woodley out of it because Woodley knocked Luque too. He
caught him with his best shot, and Luque ate it like it was nothing.
He ate it. You could tell that he was concerned. You could tell that he got rocked a little bit, but just his response immediately turned the tables. And oh my goodness, I've never seen somebody be able to stand up on stanky legs as long as Woodley did.
Woodley, yeah. Wow. And what's really sad is that we've seen Woodley be very passive in his fights.
Yes.
And in this fight, Woodley came out to fight. And he got finished because of it. That's going to discourage him in the future to come out aggressive.
Again, one of those things where you can't rely on your power. Woodley, being as big of a guy he is, oh my God, I wouldn't want to take a strike from him. And
Luque
he was just swinging for the fences. Luque was smart, was composed, even though he got caught, which is what you don't want to do. He was able to stay composed and just go at it. It was beautiful to watch.
I still can't believe he ate Woodley's best shot like that.
And again, did you notice he is a smart fighter because he's taking notes from other fighters. He did the Conor McGregor shoulder. As soon as they went up against the cage and were in the clinch, you saw Luque fight for those underhooks. And when he didn't have them, he was getting him with that shoulder. Maybe not as powerful as McGregor was able to, but definitely had some effect. You saw Woodley having to get around and move.
Yeah.
Think about just another thing. Oh my God, I'm in the clinch. I didn't think I had to worry about strikes. Now I have to worry about a shoulder. Ridiculous.
Yeah. One thing I will say that stuck out to me the most, that I feel personally lost Woodley this fight for sure. Woodley, when he felt like he hurt Luque, he left his lead arm really low, kind of like a post, it was like a fake one. But he did one of the worst things you can do, and that's telegraph. He telegraphed an uppercut because you could see Woodley hold his arm here, low at his side, 90-degree angle. What is he going for? Yeah. Clearly, he's going to swing this uppercut. Luque saw that from a mile away. Luque predicted that, and a beautiful right hook, and just caught him. Similar to how Dustin Poirier caught Conor McGregor. Yeah, because Conor likes to slip the inside and uppercut. to slip on that jab and then uppercut underneath the arm. That's what I feel like Tyron Woodley was looking for, but he didn't move his head with that uppercut. He didn't have the head movement. He had his lead hand low, and he telegraphed that uppercut from a mile away. And Luque saw that and perfectly timed the counter.
Again, shout out to Woodley just for the heart he displayed in this. To be able to get rocked 3 times and to still have to be taken down and choked out after that.
I don't think Luque had to, but Luque, I felt like...
Again, one of those things where you have to, as a judge, tell me your opinion on this. As a judge, if you were in that fight, do you think Woodley took too much damage up top before you would have called it? He obviously was rocked.
He was hurt.
Quite some time.
He was hurt. I wouldn't have stopped it, though. He was still in there. He was trying to fight back.
He was.
He had a lot on the line with this fight.
Yes,
and that's why he came out like he did. Because he knew if he lost again being passive and not being an exciting fighter, Dana was going to cut him. I still think Dana's going to cut him anyway. 4 losses. He's 38 years old, 39, one of the two.
He's coming out of his prime, and it's sad to see how such a great man is.
But he's only lost to the best. And, Luque might not have all the credit that he deserves, but I've known he was the best, one of the best for a long time.
I can see him getting somewhere far that Woodley shouldn't be ashamed to be lost over him, because I could see Luque going far in this division.
Luque is responsible fighter. That's the word that comes to mind when I'm thinking of Luque.
Yeah.
He's a very responsible fighter. He minds his P's and Q's at all times during the fight.
Great word for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, ever since I predicted Luque to knock out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson when they fought.
Yeah.
And I love Wonderboy, but I mean, it just goes to show Luque is getting better.
Yes, he is.
And I see him posing a threat to Kamaru Usman. I don't know how his grappling is going to hold up against Kamaru's imposing wrestling, but he has a good shot, because I think striking-wise, other than Kamaru's jab, I think Luque would take that fight if Usman can't take him down.
Interesting to see. I'd be excited to see that fight if it ever gets scheduled.
Yeah, that would be a good one. All right, now moving on to the main event of the evening, the Clash of the Titans.
The one that Mr. Homer Simpson over here just can't help but being right.
Yeah, I knew it. Second round TKO Ngannou, or that's a KO. But second round, I knew Stipe was going to get clipped in the first, and he was going to grind himself out. He was going to live to the second, and Ngannou was going to catch him in the third. Nothing was stopping it. Nothing. It doesn't matter who was in there with Ngannou. With his backstory and his life, nothing was going to stop that man from taking that world title.
What I saw in Ngannou this time around was we had always been worried about his power. We had always been worried about just if you get caught by him, you're done. It happened to Overeem. It's happened before.
Rosenstrike.
I expected it to happen, and it happened the other day. What I saw in him though was his fight IQ just jumped through the roof.
Yep.
He was fighting composed. He wasn't fighting like we saw Woodley just swinging for the fences, hoping his power would be the deciding factor. Right. He was fighting smart. He was setting up counters. He was keeping a distance, and I see a new GOAT in this because of that fact alone.
I think Ngannou is going to be
one of the greatest.
I think he's going to end up being the greatest heavyweight we've ever seen.
If he
I don't
can
see
go
anybody
to
competing with him.
That is the question. Who do you see being his next fight after this?
So there's 2 fights that kind of interest me. Derek Lewis has a chance. Okay, he has a puncher's chance. Yes. But the last time they came against each other, they didn't want it. Neither of them wanted to get knocked out, so it was a very uneventful fight.
I remember that fight.
Very boring.
Very boring.
Very boring. And then Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane is an elite level striker.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ngannou is going to really try to impose any wrestling on him. I think his main goal is going to be to conserve his energy as much as possible.
He's going to be in this world of fighting for 5 rounds from here on out, unless he just becomes another contender, which I don't see happening after this jump in his just knowledge of the game.
He had Kamaru Usman in his training camp.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Because Stipe is a good wrestler. He's not the best wrestler, but he's a really good wrestler. And Ngannou, you could see as soon as Stipe shot in for that takedown.
Yes.
Ngannou was in the correct position. He immediately dug for the underhook. He framed his neck, and then he sprawled him out.
And then he got around him to get his own takedown.
Oh, and he was dealing some damage. I can't stand watching Stipe sometimes just leave his hands down. When Stipe was standing up and he was So Ngannou had his left arm wrapped around his hip, right, and he's using his right arm to strike.
Yes.
Stipe stood up with both hands down and took some big right hands from behind
to just protect himself.
Man, he can be irresponsible in certain times. In clinch work, especially, Stipe has always had a problem with his hands, keeping his hands down. Daniel Cormier pointed that out after he knocked him out the first time. He's like, oh, no, we saw it in our training camp. In clinch, Stipe keeps his hands low.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's why in the clinch, Daniel Cormier caught him with that big right hook.
Mm-hmm.
It was because Stipe's very irresponsible in the clinch. But, man, Ngannou is so powerful.
So dominant.
He's so powerful. He was stronger than Stipe.
Yes,
and I think he was stronger than Stipe in the first fight.
Oh, of course.
I just think that he kept overcommitting to his strikes, missing, and then Stipe would be able to drop down and take away that bottom, that base.
I've known Ngannou to have a chin. He's not one to get knocked out just easily like we see some fighters become able to later on in their career.
He's made of adamantium.
He is. He just is such a strong man. Now, seeing Miocic in this fight, he looked in great shape. However, he didn't look like he had power behind him. He looked like he just cut everything down.
So he just came off of 3 training camps against Daniel Cormier. He decided to stay light. I think the logic behind it
was to be faster.
Was to be faster than Ngannou, but he was already faster than Ngannou.
Yes.
I think he should have tried to have more weight, and that could have taken more energy out of Ngannou with any kind of exchange.
Exactly.
And he would have had more power behind his punches. But I think Stipe's goal was to be lean, to be slim, have really good cardio, and then to drag Ngannou into deep waters.
The classic David and Goliath, can speed beat power, and today the power was able to outsmart speed.
Well, something I didn't notice from the first fight, Stipe's taller than Ngannou. Or at least it looked it when they were standing next to each other. Stipe looked like 2 inches taller than Ngannou. I know they're the same height. They're both 6'4".
They're both 6'4".
Actually, I think Ngannou's 6'6". But Ngannou seemed like 2 inches shorter. Maybe it's just the way he's standing, but he seemed 2 inches shorter than Stipe. It was very that kind of took me off guard. I didn't expect that, but Stipe looked to be taller. He definitely doesn't have the reach on Ngannou. I think Ngannou has a 6-inch reach advantage, 3 inches on both arms, and he used those really well.
Where do you see Stipe going now? We've already seen him, just juggle the title around. With multiple people. Do you see him, maybe getting a Ngannou 3 if Ngannou retains the title? Do you see him coming back for another shot if it changes hands again?
He might get it in Ngannou 3, but I think with John Jones putting himself in the picture, talking about wanting to fight Ngannou, if Dana shows him the money, I think he'll get passed up on the rematch opportunity if John Jones, if they end up going through with that. Otherwise, Stipe definitely deserves it if he wants it, but I think Stipe needs to take at least 6 months off.
Yes,
for sure.
He
and
Ngannou
wants to
take
fight.
Some time. Ngannou
was always looking for fights,
and he's going to.
And Dana said that Ngannou would hit him up all the time, be like, "Give me someone to fight, find me someone to fight," and he'd be like, "Nobody wants to fight you."
He's hungry, and with Derek Lewis, maybe that's an interesting fight to just throw. Derek has probably been deserving of a title shot, and I think Ngannou would be a great one for him.
Yeah,
if they just don't dance around. I feel like in the next fight they might have heard the notes, and maybe they'll know that they need to push the boundaries in the next fight. As long as it's not that playground, just dance around. I think it would be competitive.
What I would picture is Derek Lewis backing himself up to the cage, pulling a Tyron Woodley, and waiting for that big right hand. But I don't see that working on Ngannou.
If Ngannou plays the smart way he has, he's going to be waiting for Derek Lewis to open up, and that means that Lewis is going to have to be the aggressor.
Yeah. One note I wanted to make about Stipe and Ngannou is I feel like Stipe didn't want to throw anything in the first round. Anything at all. His coaches had to tell him going into the second round, like, okay, you got to work this round.
He was possibly trying to save that energy,
But Stipe shouldn't have been concerned about saving his energy. He should have been concerned about making Ngannou use his. And Ngannou was throwing strikes, but he was leading all of the exchanges. That means he can use as much energy as he wants to. So Ngannou was fresh going into that second round because he threw the shots when he wanted to. He would do a combo of 2 or 3, and he would stop, and he'd wait. He'd feel the process. He'd do some feints. Then he would throw a combo of 2 or 3 strikes, and he would wait again. So he didn't really expend too much energy in the first round at all. Stipe should have been making work in that first round. But I think it was a huge discouraging factor that he got stuffed so dominantly and actually got took a lot of damage from attempting that takedown against Ngannou.
Yes.
I think that discouraged Stipe to because I knew it. If Stipe can't take him down, Stipe is not living to round 3. He won't make it to round 3.
Ngannou came in with a plan. He stuck to it. He did it well.
Yeah.
And he came out victorious because of it. It was such a great fight.
So what ended this fight, right? I broke it down. Stipe, Ngannou rocked Stipe, and he chased him. He got a little too overzealous. He chased him down, and Stipe did. It's like a trademark Stipe move at this point. Stop, pivot, and then cross.
Yes.
So your momentum's coming to me.
Now
I'm gonna
around.
redirect all my momentum into your chin.
Yes.
That was Miocic's best punch, and Ngannou ate it. And I guess you could say he was rocked, but I don't think he was rocked. I think they're like, oh wow, that was a good shot.
Yeah.
That hurt. Good job. But
Okay.
Stipe rushed on that. Stipe saw that, and I think he overestimated how damaged Ngannou was, and he rushed in. And I hate, here he goes again, his irresponsible defense. Stipe, after catching with that, he followed back in with his right hand all the way down. And, of course, Ngannou sees that left hook potential right over the top.
Yep.
And that was it. And you see him crumble. I hate when I watch guys like fall on their legs when they fold.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love Stipe, man. Like I love both fighters in this. I didn't want either fighter to lose, but you know, at the end of the day, with the backstory that Ngannou has, he deserves this. Like
Every bit of it.
talk about self motivation.
Oh, of course.
And we don't even have to get into all of his backstory. There's,
Yeah.
you know, we've talked about it before in the last podcast, and you know, I suggest everyone to go watch Mixed Molly Whopperies.
So you actually bring up a great point. Another colleague of mine showed me a quote. I can't remember the exact quote from him, but Ngannou says that he doesn't like to talk about his past. People bring it up all the time, you know, just to talk about him. Molly Wop made the video about, you know, his entire backstory, but he himself just, I believe it's too painful for him. He doesn't like talking about it. And
Ngannou, man, it's so beautiful to listen to because it really makes you like reevaluate your own, you know, morals and your own values and what you're grateful for in your life. And Ngannou was talking about being homeless, you know, sleeping in a parking garage in France, and talking about how liberating it was, talking about how free he felt, that he could walk down the street and not be worried about an authority deporting him and dropping him off in the desert, you know. Like that's such a beautiful thing. Like you think someone being homeless is like, if they're talking about them being homeless, that's like the low point. That's like the rock bottom of their life. But for Ngannou, it was the most liberating time of his life.
oh, of course.
Like, man, that is a good mentality right there.
I'm
And
sorry, I'm trying to find this. Keep talking.
but it was, it's really unfortunate, you know, to see the GOAT go down. But Ngannou deserves it, man. So Africa has 3 champions now. I want to see a UFC Africa, man, and you know I want to see Ngannou on the head of that card.
Oh,
I want
of
to see
course.
Ngannou, and I want to see Adesanya as the co-main, and I want to see Kamaru. And Kamaru Usman himself even said like that's how he wants it set up. Ngannou has to
great.
be on the top, Adesanya being bigger than Kamaru, you know, just under that, and then Kamaru Usman himself. 3 African champions, 1 from Cameroon,
Yep.
2 from Nigeria. And it's crazy because we hadn't had an African champion until a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever
Really?
Israel Adesanya. Adesanya was the first African champion ever, and now we have 3. Like, that's history.
Just to elaborate more on the quote I mentioned, this is from Francis Ngannou. He says, and I quote, I don't find it fun to talk about my childhood. It's not happy for me. It's sad. I always admire people when I sit around and see people, friends, or somebody else talking about their childhood, their friends when they were kids, all the things they were doing, their cartoons, kind of like the culture. I feel like those are missing parts of my life. And no matter what I do, I can't really fill it up. That's why in some way I'm still trying to deal with that childhood. Winning a UFC belt for me would be my own way to answer that, would be my own way to show those people from my childhood that, well, after all, I wasn't bad. This was with a interview with Brett Okamoto, if I said that right. ESPN MMA citation.
Wow. Wow, what a beautiful sentiment. Man, that's really sad to think about, that he doesn't have this colorful childhood to look back on.
But it's sad to say, but some of the most dangerous men in this world of MMA have some of the worst backstories. Not all of them, but some of them do. And maybe that just makes a better fighter. That makes you have that drive to get out of it. But that definitely was something that was pushing Ngannou in this fight.
Yeah. To think he was hand paddling a boat to Morocco 6 times, 7 times. He just got through all.
But it's
7.
happy to see where he is now.
Yeah,
UFC
it's
champion,
inspiring.
Heavyweight
Truly.
division. Anyone can do it. It is Land of Dreams, America. I love
Yeah.
it.
I think he still lives in France, actually.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. No, he does love France.
Yes, he fights out of Paris, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we end this, I know you wanted to mention your picks for next week's fight card.
Let's keep this ball rolling, baby. Let's keep these perfect predictions going. The next fight, the fight night, Darren Till versus Marvin Vittori.
Marvin Vittori.
This is a good matchup. Interesting fight. I got Darren Till winning by decision.
I'm going to stick with you on that one. Not just because I think you're going to be right.
I will be.
We'll see.
I feel like
putting the money in.
Vittori is a little bit
Tell me
too
where to put the
slow.
money, man.
I feel like Vittori's a little bit too slow, and Till is a very technical fighter. He's always hand fighting. He's always playing range. I feel like Darren Till's gonna, eat him up a little bit from the outside, and he's not gonna take much damage from Vittori. That's how I predict the fight to go. That Darren Till stays on the outside, uses range, uses his speed advantage, and he gets some good counters. I don't think it's going to be a crazy eventful fight. A lot of Darren Till's fights end up being really technical to where most casuals don't thoroughly enjoy it. But anybody who knows what's going on out there can really appreciate his feint game, his counter game. But yeah, I got Darren Till winning by decision.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and trust you on that one. I don't know much about Vittori. How do you say the last name again?
Vittori?
I said it right. Hey, I'm good. I'm doing good today.
I mean, hey, Italy's got a prospect. I would not be surprised if Vittori catches him over the top and gets a knockout.
Just because I haven't seen much of him, I'm not going to be able to make a very educated hypothesis, but I'm going to trust you. I hope you're right. We'll see when my bank account comes in after that fight.
See, Till has one problem that worries me with this fight. Till likes to keep his hands kind of low, and he keeps his chin straight up in the air. He doesn't move it off the center line enough. But that's my problem with Till.
But like a young Dominic Cruz, maybe he might be agile enough to get around him.
Dominic Cruz has a head movement. He takes his head off the center line. Darren Till doesn't do that enough, especially when he's on the offense.
Yes,
Darren Till will come in with his chin up and throwing big strikes, really quick strikes and very powerful strikes, but his chin straight up in the air right on the center line. Easy counter game.
We're going to have to see what happens.
Okay, guys. With that, we will wrap up our thoughts on UFC 260, Miocic versus Ngannou. I'd like to thank you, Daniel, for being here, sharing your thoughts with us. I'd like to thank our technical engineer, the 940 Ninja himself, Sean Myers. I'd also like to thank the fighters for going up on the world stage and laying it all on the line for us.
Every single one of them.
Gladiatorial combat in 2021. Let's go, baby. And last but not least, I would like to thank all of our viewers who tuned in and entered the Kumite with us here today. Remember, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to keep up with the latest Kumite gossip.
Very important. If you like what you're doing and you want to see more of us, you telling us that you want is only going to drive us to do more and more. Hopefully we can do this more often. Hopefully we can get better. And hopefully we can see us. This is already a month of podcasting. If you think about it now, this will be our fourth or fifth episode.
Fourth episode.
Yeah, a month of podcasting. Let's keep it going. Y'all let us know if y'all want to keep it going or not.
And with that, we will leave you. Stay gold, Pony Boy.